Wafula Chebukati has been caught with his pants down. Wafula Chebukati this time around has been caught by Kpmg with a voters register having 1.2 million people who are either dead, who either have registered twice or double or triple registration, or are entirely just fake voters. Kpmg has actually refused to certify the register. What does this really mean to Raila Amolo Odinga and William Samoei Ruto? How will this affect the voters for William Samoei Ruto and Raila Amolo Odinga? That is our question today. If you are watching this channel for the first time, kindly consider subscribing to it. If you like any one of our videos, including this one, we would highly appreciate if you like the videos on YouTube.
There are still quite a number of recommendations that we have provided in relation to the anomalies that is articulated that must be dealt with before a final register of voters can be gazetted and submitted to the public.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon to you viewers. I hope you are fine wherever you are. Welcome to Talk to Africa. My name is George. Other than the fake registration, as in people using credentials which don't belong to them, other than the double registration of voters, a voter registering either twice or thrice for that matter, and dead voters amounting to 1.2 million voters, Wafula Chebukati also has the issue of the servers hanging over his head like the Somali sword. If you don't believe me, this was brought up by the Kpmg themselves. They call it the hosting. The only hosting that is done for voters in IEBC is done in the servers. Listen to this if you don't believe me. The servers is not going away. Listen to this.
We've also noted a few other control gaps from the review of the voter registration processes, the underlying systems on which the register of voters is hosted, which will require some rectification as well.
I think you've heard it for yourself. As you can see, Kpmg has talked about the hosting of voters register. When you talk about hosting of any voters register, especially for IEBC, you will not be hosting that kind of information in a flash disk. Neither would you be hosting it in a laptop. The hosting of voter information, all these issues about transmission are actually hosted in a server. So in as much as Kpmg have not mentioned the word server, because I'm sure the word server would have been like, wow, you know, Wafula Chebukati is actually being told that he opens up investigations on the issue of the servers. That is actually something that is hanging over Wafula Chebukati's head like a Somali sword. At the same time, the opinion pollsters have also come up with numbers that show that Raila is leading by 42%, followed by William Samoei Ruto at 38%, And then there are about 20% of voters who are essentially undecided. With this issue of Wafula Chebukati, you know, of 1.2 million voters who either are dead by now, maybe have registered twice or thrice or 10 times for that matter, or are just fake altogether. How will this affect the numbers for William Samoei Ruto and Raila Amolo Odinga? But both candidates, Raila Amolo Odinga and William Samoei Ruto, have issues with IEBC. We've said in this channel time and again that Wafula Chebukati is not the right person to head IEBC. That is a basic question, because this IEBC has been in office for over 10 years now. They have offices, they've been paying rent, they have staff, and if it's a question of auditing the registers, this would have been done even maybe 5 years before elections. Why is it now that Wafula Chebukati is still caught with a voters register that has 1.2 million people who are not eligible to vote? Some are dead. How would they even then be eligible? How is that possible? Kpmg is a reputable auditing firm. In fact, for those who don't know, Kpmg has refused to actually certify Wafula Chebukati's register, and Wafula Chebukati has also shifted the date for actually gazetting the voters register. Why is Wafula Chebukati hell-bent or completely then unable to sort out this problem of voting in this particular country? I don't understand really why even politicians entertain this. They still have Wafula Chebukati there. The issue of Musando, the IT manager, was killed while at work in the IEBC, is there. The issue of a commissioner disappearing and taking off to the US because of threats is still there. The issue of opening the servers is still there and has not been addressed. By the way, talking of opening the servers, even Martha Koome, the Chief Justice, talked about that issue and actually asked at a forum, one of the forums, asked Wafula Chebukati to comply with the Supreme Court orders. You see, now Kpmg, having refused to certify Wafula Chebukati's register, Wafula Chebukati is he called a presser last night and started shifting the dates and saying things which really don't matter. At the end of the day, the voters register is not credible. Anyway, how will this affect William Samoei Ruto in terms of the numbers and Raila Amolo Odinga? As you know, right now, due to the political formations that are there, you have Kenya Kwanza and you have Azimio. Due to that political equation, it's very hard to pinpoint and state that these 1.2 million voters who are irregularly in the register of IEBC of Wafula Chebukati, if they are removed from that register, will it affect more William Samoei Ruto or will it affect Raila Amolo Odinga? It's very hard to do that. Given that political formations have actually taken shape, where you have Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and Jubilee supporting Raila, and you have Mudavadi and Wetangula, and the rest supporting William Samoei Ruto in the Kenya Kwanza group. You see, so it's very hard to pinpoint that, but there are some indicators that you can look at. Mainly when people are complaining about voting, the complaints were coming mainly from Mount Kenya area and Rift Valley. Mount Kenya is known to be mainly followers of William Samoei Ruto. You remember that Rakanithi, one of the places, the constituencies in Mount Kenya, actually even came up with a turnout of over 100% people who actually registered as voters. In other words, you have 100 people who register as voters, but in the Rakanithi, 120 people voted. In some places, people actually just went and voted for president, that is in Mount Kenya, and basically never voted down the ballot. Which tells you that there's a lot of problems other than these other issues of dead voters, duplication or triplication or whatever it is, then outright fake voters. Wafula Chebukati has a lot that he really needs to do within now 60 days. Voters haven't even checked the register. Well, how will it affect William Samoei Ruto and how will it affect Raila Amolo Odinga? I can tell you for sure, William Samoei Ruto will be most affected because his supporters come from Rift Valley, which has been the area which has had a problem, and Mount Kenya. You see, so if you are to look at it logically, the 1.2 million voters could become more from the strongholds of Kenya Kwanza than the strongholds of Azimio. This is a fact, So in fact, sometimes you are tempted to think that now, 60 days to election, people have already made up their minds which way they will vote. How do we end up having 20% of people polled saying that they are undecided? Could the pollsters have polled people who have died, or people who basically registered twice or thrice, or fake voters in their samples? It is possible, because by and large, I will tell you, most voters have already made up their mind, regarding this. But what do you think? How do you think the 1.2 million people, or rather 1.2 million voters, who most likely will be struck out of the voters register, how do you think that will affect William Samoei Ruto in terms of his numbers, and Raila Amolo Odinga in terms of his numbers? Thank you very much for tuning in. Welcome to Talk to Africa. My name is George.